Matthew Guy urge you to remain in Parliament and then change his mind?
Yes, unfortunately, and I offered to go immediately, and he said stay, and I literally, to use a cricket parlance, he called me through for a run, said yes, and then halfway down the pitch said no, sorry, no, whoops, oh, yeah, see you later, mate, and that's what happened.
And there were a lot of people urging you to stay. Many think that Josh Frydenberg could have done more to publicly support you, but because your seat of Kew overlaps with Frydenberg's former seat of Kooyong, didn't Alexander Downer, the former Foreign Minister, ring you from London and tell you not to resign? Tony Abbott as well. I made that point many times on this program.
Tony Abbott was and remains a great personal friend and mentor of mine. Tony Abbott's a legend. He is. As I said in my condolence speech for Jane, there is no one else aside from Tony Abbott you would want in a trench with you than Jane Garrett. Tony Abbott was as loyal could be, and went publicly into the media and said Tim Smith must stay. Alexander Downer did ring me from London and basically said, make them shoot you in the street. Do not go, do not resign. But unfortunately, when the state leader says you're not to contest the next election, the administrative committee basically says you're not going to be re-endorsed. You don't have much choice.
Well, that's a pretty good reason for not voting for Matthew Guy. I've got to say that is a complete collapse of leadership.
As Boris Johnson said when he resigned, them's the breaks, and
yes.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, that being said, where are the Victorian Liberals now? Many see them as a copycat version of Labor. I mean, this was the mess of the federal election. After the federal election, Tim Smith said, quote, the Liberal campaign in Kooyong had no mention aside from keep Josh. But most importantly, it said nothing about what the Liberal Party stands for that would improve the lives of the people of Kooyong or anywhere else in the years ahead. That's exactly where the Liberal Party is today, Tim.
That is exactly right, Alan. And I made that point the week after the federal election, that one of the reasons why we lost Kooyong, but indeed one of the reasons why we got thumped all around Australia, is because we gave the voters no reason to give us a very rare fourth term. We had no economic vision. We had no narrative. It was just a piecemeal approach to press releases, politics above policy. There was no discernible difference really between the Labor Party and the coalition, and that's federally. And that's before you get to Victoria, where the Victorian Liberals have a more extreme emissions reduction target than federal Labor, a 50% legislated emissions reduction target by 2030. We supported a treaty, heavens above. I mean, I had to cross the floor because the Victorian Liberal Party decided they would support a treaty with our own fellow Australian citizens. I rang Jacinta Price and I said, what do you reckon? And she said, no way, you can't support it. And so for the first time in 8 years, I had to cross the floor because it was wrong. It was also completely illiberal, and it was completely absurd too for a state government to be even thinking about entering into a treaty with its own citizens. Madness. Crackers.